Hi, this is Francisco Pulgar Viral with fkiQuality, and today I would like to speak with you about the Kaizen Staircase. Masaaki Imai, the man who explained the habit of getting better all the time in small increments, or what we now know as Kaizen to the world, used to say that improvement is impossible without the use of standards. Let's see what he meant. But first, what is a standard? There is a static image that comes with the word standard. For instance, we'd say that a standard is written in stone, or that a standard is protected from unauthorized changes, or we would expect that expensive standards must be deployed for a certain period of time before any changes are allowed. But here's a better definition of what a standard is. A standard is the current best way to do something. The current best way to do something means that a standard could become easier, faster, safer, cheaper. Deep in this new definition of standard is the idea that it is bound to change when needed and bound to adapt to new conditions. And that is how the standard will stay relevant over time. In the book Kaizen, Mr. Imai explains the concept of company-wide improvement using three similar-looking staircase diagrams. So he depicts an organization ascending to higher levels of performance. So we could look at performance here in the vertical. And this ascension to higher levels of performance is going to occur over a certain period of time, usually measured in months or years. The idealized staircase is the first one presented by Imai, represents what we may call innovation-driven progress. In this case, at a certain point in time, there is going to be an improvement driven typically by an innovation effort that is going to be the result of large investment projects. And then there will be a certain period of time where this improvement is sustained, and then there comes another improvement, and then additional sustainment, and yet another improvement, and so on. Between each project, we see that there is a long period of adaptation to this mega change and general settlement around the new ways of working. Only that this is an idealized improvement pattern. It's an unrealistic picture of progress. And the reason is because any innovation given by each one of these vertical segments, or any new practice, once set in place, is subject to continual deterioration with the passing of time. Using a now popular lean term, Imai has said that the gemba, or the workplace, tends to deteriorate. This is just a natural occurrence of things with the passing of time, unless someone is looking after them. So in reality, what we have here is really what could be called a staircase of disappointment. And in fact, what is happening is that each one of these segments is unable to sustain the improvement that they were expected to produce, and what we really have here is a staircase that is made of these up segments but also slowly down segments because of the lack of sustainment. The second staircase therefore shows a picture of what we may call episodic improvement. Right? There's this improvement that is driven by a certain project, and while we are doing the project, there is great innovation and there's great movement upwards. But then, and this is caused by some large urgent innovations. They will be the response to sufficiently large amount of pain in the organization, pain in our customer base, and pain or friction in our operations, as they will be demonstrated by any type of business case, like most projects will have. So, but what we have here is that this innovation is actually being slowed down by the fact that there's this intermittent declining slopes. And these declining slopes are due to interruption in the effort needed to sustain the current state. In reality, therefore, what we have here is we have this organizational pain that was not anticipated and which comes and kind of depresses the growth that we were expected to have. Now, there's a better strategy, and that's what we're going to call the Kaizen strategy, where this pain is actually, the pain and the stagnation actually is even worse than stagnation, that is driven by not sustaining this growth, is in fact replaced by something very different. In Imai's third staircase, which is actually the Kaizen staircase, what we have is that not only the standard is sustained, but it's also challenged and continually challenged and continually improved upon, so that in reality the slope of the line in between innovation-driven changes is different. It's a positive slope. And what you have is that in reality the organization is going to look like this, and then the change benefits from the aggregation of small improvements that we have made in between large projects. And therefore, again, if we were to compare to what would be just a purely sustained effort, now there's this improvement over here. So the pain of the business case is actually replaced by the growth of continual improvement. And what we have here is this positive effect from continual small improvements, which is what Kaizen gives us. Now, in addition to this operational progress, this series of efforts carry out to continually sustain and improve the new standard, produce this unique organizational advantage, which is the habit of improvement. This improvement habit gives the organization the capacity to learn about its own operations at high speed, and also the openness to challenge its standards on a continual basis. The mechanism for learning is what is known as PDSA, which is a flow of continual learning, where PDSA stands for plan a change based on a hypothesis, execute this hypothesis, that's the do stage, study what happened with the results of the change, and then act upon it. This sequence which is this repeated sequence of improvement through learning, is based on setting ever more ambitious targets and goals, and then proving or disproving that we have the means to achieving those objectives. In Lean circles, there is now a renewed interest in PDSA under the name of Kata, popularized by Mike Rother in a very influential book in 2009. So Kaizen is heavily focused on developing the personnel, because you see that all of this growth is done by the majority of the individuals that make up a company, so that everybody can become an agent of change in every corner of the organization and contribute to the progress of the company, which actually is one of the Deming principles of management. Through Kaizen, progress is driven not only by employees who are highly technical and capable of producing this innovation-based burst of progress in order to drive performance higher and higher, but also by any employee who makes many small contributions by challenging the current state of things. In Imai's view, both innovation and the always challenged standards are the keys to achieving sustained high performance. Thank you for your time.